Welcome to Path of Faith, where we embark on a journey of spiritual discovery, guided by the timeless wisdom of faith and the teachings of Jesus Christ. And if one day I give you advice that you identify as contrary to what God has already revealed to you, please don't believe me. Because the more you dive into your spirituality, the more authority you will have to know what God wants from you. And you will not need to be depending on what others say to you. No. Do you see, woman? You see yourself, boy. We heard this all our life as negative, right? From today, no. When someone speaks like this, he sees to you, even if she doesn't have good intentions, speaks. It's giving me advice. Well, I'll see myself. I'll look at me. I'll know who I am. I will know that God lives in me and does not give up me, and that it will be with me to the end. Amen. Do you make a miracle waking up the power of God in me? Waking up the power of God in you? You can all that strengthens you come from fearing what you can face enough to fearing what is yours is there. It's to live. It's to solve. It is to live the clash. God puts us standing. You are strengthened with the power of God. No evil can do absolutely nothing on you if you don't open loopholes. How did we say? When does the devil start to have access to us? When we stop respecting each other, when we stop loving ourselves. The armor that God does in us is faith, is the conscience you have. The devil, as St. Augustine said, is an angry dog that barks day and night, but is tied. What you needed to do is just not approach it. There is a minimum sign that something can be evil in your life, can drain your energy, can drain your strength. Cut yourself from the strength of the Spirit in you. The Spirit is wearing for you. He is struggling for you and becoming more and more fit to your battles. Everything passed in. The name about every name. Gizmo. Never stop fighting. No more discouragement. Suck anemia. Open our hearts. Aye. And a lot of love for us to overcome what needs to be overcome. Once upon a time, and it is almost right there, that we live a time when we lost a lot of people who love each other. And now what we least want is to waste time with those we have. Time alongside the people we love becomes eternity. Careful, partner, that life is trained. When we least imagine, the time comes. But while we won't, we learn. Who else did you forgive in life? Certainly who you love the most. You don't have to say anything. You hug me gets out of the door. This is the music I like to sing to my mother. I had a great pleasure to lie on her lap and sing it. The pandemic took so many people that we loved, and the only way to do justice to this challenge, which is to lose who we love even more of those we still have. Because the resurrection is that. It is us to turn the longing for a capacity to love that we never end. And that's right? We talk. What did we really fight on that trip? I don't remember anymore. Then the grudge that is on the side, I remember. No, we want to forget, because we love each other. The greatest wealth we can have in life is to love and be loved. The rest we find a way, but when we lack love, we can't even understand who we are. Love is what educates us. It makes us come to the best of us, to make the other also reach the best of oneself. Do you know that there are some things that I thank God the most? This is every time I identify that someone is having access to effective authority to educate what I feel. It happens. Throughout our lives, we will find the people who are educating who we are. Because everything in us had to be educated. Everything. Absolutely everything. We were born. We come to this world determined by the selfishness of our condition. It is inevitable. You can never expect solidarity from a newborn. In the early stages of life, solidarity is a value that we don't even know how to decodate. We revolve around our needs. It is normal. It is a normative process. There is no problem. We have to wait for brain maturity to teach the concepts. But one day, when you started having the first understanding, your mother gets tired that you have no problem, you expect a little. that she is in the bathroom, that soon she brings her food or your drink. Do not tell a newborn. Wait for your mother to arrive soon. Do not cry, because your mother is already coming. She needs to solve some things. But now, then he leaves the crib and the child is still there in that scream. No? Nothing in us can be a solidarity response in life. In the early stages of life. But at one point, with great way, his mother was saying, "My daughter, divide this doll with her sister. What we have is more beautiful when we divide." You started to have the first lessons about your ability to share what you had. Divide a toy, divides a cookie. Someone began to educate your feelings, your understandings, and you have begun to flourish in your possibilities. Aristotle was very right, even taught us the classical Christian philosophy, absorbed much of Aristotle's teachings. Aristotle said that when you look at a seed, you see all the possibilities of the tree. But it is no guarantee you become one. You have to put in the right place, favor, put in the ideal conditions so that the seed flourish with all its possibilities. Christianity in us is the same thing. One day you received all this in seed, in a seed baptism. The first lines you were able to understand about what it means to be a Christian. Because if someone had not taken you out of your selfishness, it is very likely that you were still repeating all the condition of the individual. The human process is always like this. I leave the condition of individual when my brain maturity allows me this. Psychology teaches us, who has already had contact with the philosophy of Piaget's psychology, the development of moral judgment. How do we mature in life when people, according to our possibilities of understanding, are putting us in the face of the situations that teach us? Piaget said beautifully, the only way to educate a child who is not able to have a complexity of thought is plain. The first rules of life we do not learn from moral speeches. We learn by playing. There is a space to be respected for play. There are rules for play. It was the first contact you had with what today you understand as civility. Someone was willing to civilize his soul, of the individual to the condition of person. The individual, the one who does not divide, not because he does not want, because he cannot, and then you will assimilate the values. Being a person is the one who has and having themselves. I can only give you what I before I have. If I don't own me, I will hardly give myself with quality to someone. He came with a message. A reporter asked. Cora Coralina, who is a great Goiás poet, who asked her like this. Cora Coralina, what is living well? And she said, I'm not afraid of the years, and I don't think about old age. And I tell you, don't think too. Don't say I'm aging. I'm getting old. I don't say that. I don't say I'm old, and I don't say I'm listening little. Of course, when I need help, I say what I need. I always try to read it and be updated with the facts, and it helps me to overcome life's difficulty. The best script is to read and practice what you read. The good thing is to always produce and not sleep in day. Well, I can't say that yesterday because I slept the whole afternoon. Right? Because I arrived a sleepless night and had to sleep. I contradicted the colon yesterday. Also, don't tell you that you are getting forgotten, because so you get even more. You need to be very careful what you pronounce on yourself. Careful. I am very forgotten. Stop this. Start thinking positive. Don't put yourself so many defects, because you end up taking on these defects. I never say I'm sick. I always say I'm great. I never say I'm tired. Nothing a negative word. The more you say you're getting tired and forgotten, the more than forgotten and tired you get. Are you listening, Netta? Listen to me well, then now I will tell you, lady. You will be convinced of it and convince others. And truth. So, do not complain. She says, I know that I have many years. I know I come from the last century and bring me all ages, but I don't know if I'm old or not. Do you think I am? I can say that I am the earth and nothing else I want to be. Daughter of this blessed land of Goya, I call the old ones like me, or older than me, exercise their rights. If anyone will have to bury me, the important thing is to sow. To produce millions of smiles of solidarity and friendship. I try to sow optimism and plant seeds of peace and justice. I say what I think with hope. I think about what I do with conviction. I do what I should do with love and efforts to be better every day. Because goodness we also learn. Is the text beautiful? Cora Coralina has already died, has passed away. But she did not allow life to be dead inside her. This is very edifying for us to hear testimony like that. People who do not allow the soul to slaughter, right, my people? Because difficulty we always have. That's why I like to always be the bearer of a word that is encouraging, fighting. It's not to run your hand on anyone's head, no. It is for us to find out the value of the fight. What Jesus proposes to all the people he finds is struggle. Do not settle in your defects. Do not bury yourself ahead of time, as Cora Coralina says in the text. I know someone will bury me, but I won't do this to me. Sometimes we buried ourselves. We started dying before the time. We anticipate the process of burial when I find out that I am no longer cultivating joys, when I am no longer receiving the light of day, when I am no longer celebrating my possibilities, when I got used to life. Life cannot. You cannot get used to life. Life needs to always be an experience of charm. Today I need to delight myself with what I have. That's why, my people, that there is no ready answer. We have no possibility of responding ready for anyone's problems. Because life, before being a ready answer, is a question that is worth it. You question yourself all the time what I can do today to improve the world, don't you? And that, to be a mystique, which leads us, that leads to me, that leads you, this mystique, that does not allow us to stop in time, but that we welcome every day, every moment, with a possibility. And we go back to her text. Kindness is something we learn. Learn to be good. Learn to value life, isn't it? Sometimes we are damaging our hearts. We get used to the difficulties we have, and we end up learning goodness. We end up learning what truly in life is worth it. But things are very difficult in my life. Everything I have been achieving with a lot of sweat. Father, but that's all. That's how it's supposed to be. My daughter, I don't know another way. In my life, everything is also difficult. No one promised that it would be easy. No, my daughter. If we want a result, we have to fight. Nothing falls from the sky. Faith is born from the ground. I think we reverse things, right? Our prayer had to be turned to the ground all the time. This is where God flourishes. God is the same seed, flourish on the floor. This metaphor that God is in heaven, this is beautiful. But it is here. Oh, stepping on this floor that life happens. The strength God gives me, the strength God gives you is so that we can plant a garden. No one promised that our life would be a flower garden, but God promised the strength for us to plant it. I'm here, thank God, full of health. Do you have my effort in this story? Yes. But it is God's gift in me. Want to pass the entrance exam? Study. Don't have this dream, oh Father. Pray to me. I won't pray. No. If you do not study, my prayer is no good at this time. If you do not study, you are no use sitting, kneeling before the most holy with the book on your head, O Lord. helps me pass the entrance exam. Do your task first, then you have the right to wait for the gift. We only have the right to wait for the impossible after we do everything we can. If you are paying too much attention to what is difficult, then everything is even harder, Ray. Guys, life will always be determined from what we pay attention. If you have a problem before you, you have two possibilities. Or you see the problem, or you already see the solution. There are people who only see the problem, then you can hardly find the solution because it fixes the eyes on the problem and there is no eyes to find the solution. And then it depends on how we interpret life. There are people who love difficulty. There are people who love problem and end up becoming a source of problems because they are not willing for solutions. There are people who don't know how to live without a problem. When we are facing a difficult situation, it is very natural that other people, taken by a pork spirit, come to say so, won't do it, it won't work. It is not, and there is always one like that. Didn't I say? I do not know. I'm thinking this business will work out. No, there is always a pork spirit ready to play a destructive phrase that will be discouraged. But not. If we do not pay attention to these speeches, we will extract courage inside us in a way that we did not know. Sometimes, everything. Everything. No, not exactly this. It's just that we look at everything hard. It's not that everything is difficult. We look at everything hard. It can't be like that. We can be a little more optimistic. Difficulty exists in everyone's life. They are everywhere. Now, the way we face these difficulties is that it will make a difference. There are 5,000 people for 5 vacancies. Don't worry, see? 90% of these 5,000 who are trying this place has not studied the way you studied. If you truly prepare for things, you already eliminate most competitors, because most are more or less. Most are living more or less. Most are doing more or less. There are few people who are truly taking life responsibly the way it needs it. There are few young people who in the 16, 17-year phase are taking the college seriously. There are few college students who are currently attending college with the discipline that the profession will require one day. And I always say, want to be a good professional? Study well what you are studying. Because you don't have the right to be more or less. You don't have it. No one is out of it. You in your area, you need to go after your quality. You who are a doctor, you who are a dentist. You know how much you need to perfect yourself to stay standing in today's world. Today, we are in the time of competence, and it is not a problem. It has to motivate us to want to. Also, recognizing that it is the least, the minimum within us. We deserve to take care of this minimum. This process can be improved more and more. Increasingly increase our possibilities. And then when we bump into our fragility, we have to learn from it. She doesn't have to be discouraged, but much more than professional quality, before it is our human quality. Much more than a good doctor, you need to be a good father, to be a good son, to be a good brother. This is what makes happiness truly come to accommodate within you. It is no use being done in your profession if you are not fulfilled as a person. And that is what we are talking about today. It is this human improvement. And in the college of life, we learn all the time. There is no teacher to teach us to be a father, teaching us to be a brother. No. It is looking into the eyes of those we love that we will discover the right measure, the learning of each day, so that we can be a better human being in today's world. No more bad people. Enough of incompetent people as a person, enough killers, enough thieves, enough of liars. Let's give this world quality. Starting with you, no matter how you lived until today. God's word to us is always optimistic. God continues to see values in you. God keeps believing that your heart can be better. God keeps believing that there, in this heart often marked by failures, there is a victory, which you can arrive. Just do not give up. Pour upon us the blessing of the Almighty God, He who is Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Genital. Sexual intercourse is one that involves all the being. The other is not just a body that is before me. The other is a being, which has the dimension of sexual, physical, genital, but it only makes sense if it is plenified with the sexual meaning of the totality. It's someone who is being loved, is someone who is loving, but that does not always happen. Cynthia. But wait, ask this disconcerting question to her. Wait, is your life project now to be object? Born to be an object? Are you willing to live this time of life as the object of the other? Don't you think you deserve to be happy? Don't you think you deserve to break this chain of destruction that the other is imposing there? Bringing a number of bad, harmful thing. Wake up the other for it. You've heard me always here. I don't miss the opportunity. Every time I have the opportunity to speak against socialized and non-socialized addictions. How many young people are losing their lives today because they are no longer able to say no to crack, cocaine, marijuana? Kill yourself, my people. Steal their own family. Why? Because they lost their own love. When we lose the self-love, we are capable of any kind of prostitution. And we prostitute ourselves in many ways, not only in the body. No, we prostitute ourselves in the mind. We prostitute ourselves into character. When I get along with liars to be able to have some benefit. When I start to receive abominable situations in my life, and I start to make a pact with all this, I'm prostituting myself. We need to be aware all the time that we are not born for such petty projects. We were born for much more. God's project in our lives, in our history, is for much more. We cannot level underneath. God dreamed for me and for you much noblest situations. I don't want to waste the hours I have with petty shops. I will not waste my communication time with gossip or responding to aggression. No, I don't want to give time. I don't want to give my time. I don't want to waste my time on what I know will not build. Or build what is communicating with me the option for life she spends all the time. Jesus said very wisely to his friends, referring to the arrival of the kingdom, eschatology, around, watch, and pray. This Christian posture. I need to watch all my choices all the time. I need to watch all the time what is happening to me. And pray about it. Reflect. Vigio. And reflect. And if necessary, I mute. I change focus. Why? It does not give. You cannot waste time. You do not have the right to unhappy the project God has for you, which is wonderful. Don't think God thought small about you. God thought very great with you, and everything he expects from you is there. Inside you. You just need to flourish. Just need to bear fruit. Only those who have proved the pain, who suffered bitterness, saw the cross and life in real tones, who rightly sought, but in the wrong one was lost. Had to know how to start. How long do we have to be who we are? We won't be wasting time with not being or realizing the other's dream. Because he imagined me like this and like that. No? Life is urgent, and we need to live with great disposition the opportunity to be today. Here. Right now. Many times we don't change the attitude. It's because we don't change the way of thinking. It is interesting how much it is really true when I have difficulty living with someone. If you don't change the way I interpret the other, it won't change my way of treating it. I bump into it all the time, my people. You know very well, accompany me. You know how public. My life exposes me all the time. And I need to have a lot of security in being so I can do what I do. And from time to time, bumps into my life, through a letter, through an email. It's natural. But the moment I am not interpreted the way I need to be, I have every right to set that limit. And often people approach us with such a greedy desire to be our administrators, right? Why? You are playing you wrong. Many weddings go wrong because of this. Because the husband interprets the woman as a good of consumption, does not interpret it as a human being who has wills, who has wishes, which has dreams. So the attitude often that curters, which will assault, will only be modified the moment the husband looks at his wife and interpreting her in a new way. There is freedom. And in freedom, we can be brothers, we can be friends, we can be happy, because no one is prevented from being. At many times in your life, you were unhappy because someone denied what you were. It didn't give you the opportunity to be who you were. Then, my friend, is a disaster. When we are not interpreted in a right way, when the eye looks at us the same way it looks at a wall, or a picture on the wall, or it looks at us as if it were a decoration object in his life, you runs the risk of being objectified. Lost its identity, ceased to be. He entered the dimension of doing in the most cruel way a human being can enter. There is no other way. I don't know. I can't be holy if I don't touch my human issues, if I don't improve them and modify these structures. Through a word, you suddenly discover that you are living the condition of object, and that in the condition of object, no happiness may be possible to human life, and that we have no right to objectify anyone or accept the object of the other. It is life, and it's so beautiful when we find out with each other. Wow, sorry, I'm objectifying you. I'm not leaving their free being. I am not allowing you to be you. And love is born of this ability to respect these limits, and to understand that the other is in the process of transformation. Not what I want, but in what God wants for him. For that we love each other, right? When I want you well, I am providing you to be who you are, and at the same time, helping to remove the excesses that harm your being. Living identity is us somehow, to have a reference of who we are, and from knowing who we are, find out what we should do. There's always a being that precedes what it does. This is identity. Just like the doctor. He is a man, has a story, and makes medicine an exercise of being. Is not true? But before he was the doctor, he is that boy who was educated in the countryside, or it was that boy who grew up in the capital, son of so, and so, son of Sicrano, the brother of Tal. That one, there is a being that was built. There is an identity that it does not lose. Although medicine takes you to conquer many places in the world, it will always have a root in being Gian. He is, and that is what I identify. In fact, when we enter the office of a doctor, a lawyer, a professional, what will attract him is not just what he does with his profession. Not the so much so that he knows. It is not how much he knows of law or medicine, but it is what he is as a person. Because what makes the difference the moment he makes. You know how to do many things, but you also know from this reflection that what you do is totally touched by what you are. I read a very beautiful phrase this week of an author who now I don't remember the name, thus saying, "The mirror shows us the face and art shows us the soul." Every time we are facing a work of art, somehow our soul reveals itself, because it causes our sensitivity, causes what we are. And you know that I keep thinking that in life, we're very lacking in situations that provoke our being. Because sometimes we do so much, we work so much, we fall into a life of so many activities that we risk living without knowing what we are. Because practical life often encourages our doing and not our being. And is that why I need to have my moments of cultivating who I am? And that is why our human maturity depends on these visits we do when it is. Because it is in the being that we change what it does. It's no use you want to modify your action if you have not changed the root that causes this action. It is much deeper. It is no use that you try to change a concrete and practical attitude. If you do not change their reason for the attitude that is in being, being is the house of all reason. Love is born in being. That's why what we do, our love gestures, they are directly linked to our being that loves. This is why the heart, when he is used to loving, when being always projects to solidarity, for love to fraternity, he will be very easy to do good. The gesture I make, it can be beautiful, maybe even kind. Why? Because a connection is often missing between my heart and my gesture. It is here, in my thinking, in my brain activity, in my intellectual motives. It is here, where my heart beats, where all my feelings are processed, where my sensations also exist and help me to be who I am. That the first dimension of Christianity forms. It is Christian formatting. We could use a modern term, wouldn't it? When you format your computer, what do? You transform it, you remove it, you clean everything that was there, and you project it for a new time. That's what baptism does to us. He removes us from an ancient condition and formats to a new life. So, from my baptism, I am dipped in this new way of being of Jesus. And because I am a Christian, my attitudes will be born naturally. Christian. Naturalite is a difficult word because our crystal gesture is not always natural, but it is because the conversion of being is lacking. It is natural that I want good. It is natural that I do not sow discord. It is natural that I know how to control my vanities. It is natural that I can control my pride. It is natural that I do not want to lie. Because the being is connected in Jesus and knows very well that living the dynamics of Jesus is precisely to deny all this. It is not wanting it as part. When we look at Jesus, we find out who we should be, how we should think. I have spoken here so many times that the Apostle Paul understood, because Paul was a very cultured man, and in fact, all Christian theology bumps all the time in the Pauline concepts, that he gave somehow this intellectual coding for simple thought of Jesus. Then what does he say? That we need first transform our mindset. Have you heard me about it? Methane is the change of mindset. If it rotates to the right, we will rotate to the left. But I would like to summarize all this in this sentence, or perhaps in a nutshell. You are a sacred territory. To say that you are a child of heaven, even if you have already missed a lot in life, even if you have already failed a lot, it doesn't matter. Today is the day to remember that you are a holy territory. And by recognizing that it is a holy territory, you have the right to undo all the irregular camps that may have happened in your life. People who arrived, structures, mentalities, things that have suddenly taken over you and who turned into an object in a good. If you want to know if you live any form of kidnapping of subjectivity, just answer it to yourself. Does anyone ask you for something that is harmful to you? And are you able to do just to be able to satisfy the other? Be careful, because we often think this is love, and it is not. The donation to the other never, but will never even ask you to self-destruct. You can sacrifice yourself, but sacrifice is not synonymous with destruction. Sacrifice does not destroy us. Sacrifice makes us nobler. For example, the other comes and speaks like this. You will smoke this weed to prove that you love me. You will make this sacrifice for me. No, this is not a sacrifice. Sacrifice is that you remove a reality from a common context and you give it a sacred meaning. So I will make the sacrifice of spending the awake night awake with a sick person. Why? Because I love this person, because this person has a meaning for me. So, I will sacrifice my health there that night, and I will give my time of this common attitude. You see, a sleepless night is something common, But the sacrifice is me. I take this sleepless night and give to her a sacred meaning. I made her a sacrifice. What was common? Staying without sleep. I gave a noble meaning. I sacrificed, became sacred. Now when I find out that I am doing things, entering certain situations, destroying me because of someone else, so I risk having a disordered bond with it. That needs to be reflected all the time, my people. The kidnapping starts slowly. See? No one takes us at once. We start to be taken slowly. The invader is elegant. The kidnapper of affections, he is elegant. Then you are already under command. Human relationships that can be within marriage, in friendship, work relations, where you are destroying yourself because of the other, and you are no longer able to say no. You already assume this destruction as a life project. Then you need help. This is very present in the precocitors. Why? Because the teenager is not often prepared for love. Sometimes there are so many conflicts there and still have to manage a relationship for two. This is a danger. Many young women are kidnapped from the point of view of subjectivity by arriving adults who begin to take possession of that world without much protection. The teenager affectionately is inexperienced. So these passions of adolescence are so dangerous because the person gets blind. It gets blind. So be careful. Every time you find that you are living a relationship that is stealing you, set the boundaries. I always like to say that the other will treat us the way we authorize. Every time we identify that there is an exaggeration of the other, set your limit. This territory here is mine. This territory here is sacred. It will only come in if I take the sandal out of my feet and recognize that I am not you, that I am not your extension, that I do not have an obligation to be you again, that I have no obligation to live to satisfy your desires, that I don't have to be your object. We have already spoken here so many times about object relations. What are object relations? They are those in which one part identifies the other as the object of their satisfaction. This is highly destructive and very common. Very common when the other is not able to recognize that you are a human being. When he looks at you just like a machine. Sex does that a lot. It is impressive how sex can make the other an object. It's because in sexuality, people exercise. They need to live a healthy sexuality. They need to exercise in 2 dimensions. Because sex is not just the body. A sexual intercourse is much more than the meeting of 2 bodies. The meeting of 2 bodies.
Thank you for joining us on this spiritual journey at Path of Faith. Your participation is key to our community's growth, so please leave your comments, give us a like, share this video, and subscribe for more uplifting content.